Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. This administration is unbelievable. I mean, it is hard to believe that people can be this dishonest. Like I always say, it's not just Joe Biden. Joe Biden just sets the standard. It's his entire administration, top down, side to side, across the entire thing. They're all just a bunch of liars. I mean, it's crazy, and it's the same thing that I keep saying. There is nothing more frustrated than somebody treating you as if you're stupid. When someone is clearly being dishonest to you and trying to convince you of something that is totally unrealistic, you know the facts, yet they continue to stand by the lie, expecting that you'll buy it. It's incredibly frustrating. And we had that exact moment once again. I mean, we've had these moments over the last year and a half of this administration, but this one a little bit unique because it's on the record during a Senate hearing. And what makes it even more special is that it's not a Republican senator going after a Biden administration official. It's literally a Democrat, Senator Joe Manchin, of course a public critic of the Biden administration, and a man who's been single-handedly responsible of stopping Joe Biden's disastrous economic agenda, but still a Democrat, going after a Biden administration official with the facts, with a statement from their bureau specifically. He reads the statement, reads the quote verbatim, and what do you think this Biden official does? Denies that what he's reading means what it literally means. Denies reality in just an incredibly frustrating moment. Let me show you guys exactly what happened. Another epic Senate hearing moment, and another moment of this administration being caught on yet another lie. We got some stuff to get into, but of course, before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. All right, folks, take a look at this. My God, Democrat senator leaves Interior Secretary stumbling after confronting her with agency's own statement. Senator Joe Manchin from West Virginia left Interior Secretary Deb Haaland stumbling on Thursday after confronting her with a statement released by the Interior Department. What is the background? Haaland was testifying before the Senate Energy Committee to address the agency's proposed budget, but considering the energy crisis and record-high gas prices, oil and gas were the hot topics at the hearing, especially in light of the Biden administration's hostility towards fossil fuels. At issue was the fact that the Interior Department has delayed issuing a new 5-year program of offshore oil and gas auctions, while the department is required by law to produce such a program, but has blamed the Trump administration for causing the delay. Of course, very in line with the Biden administration, it's either Trump's fault, it's Putin's fault, or of course it's the COVID-19's fault. But take a look at this interaction from Mrs. Haaland and Democrat Senator Joe Manchin.
If I may, real quickly, Secretary Haaland, I don't know, did you all just put out a statement? The U.S. Department of Interior just put out a statement, and the statement basically says a proposed program is not a decision to issue specific leases or to authorize any drilling or development. This is from you all's office. So it looks like you all want to shut everything down. Did you know you all put this out?
I am sorry. I am sitting in this hearing and not.
My God, somebody. It shuts it down. It shows what your intent is. Yes, we can. We'll get copies for everybody. Basically, it says Secretary Haaland provides updates on offshore leasing program during the Senate testimony. During testimony before the U.S. Senate Committee on Energy and Natural Resources today, Secretary of the Interior Deb Haaland confirmed that despite delays in implementation from the previous administration, the Interior Department will release the proposed program, the next step in the 5-year offshore energy planning process, by June 30th, 2022, which is the expiration of the current program. A proposed program is not a decision to issue specific leases or to authorize any drilling or development. So we're going to do the proposal, but it doesn't guarantee they're going to do any leasing at all.
Chairman,
yes,
what I could say is I believe what that is saying is that it's the plan that's coming out.
But I think what you're prefacing it by saying after you're acknowledging the plan, you'll have a plan by June 30th, but you went further to say that doesn't mean that you're issuing any specific leases. If you have a plan, you should have. I mean, we've never done this. This is history. We've never done that before. Not issue leases. If you put a plan out, the plan has always been a long-term 5-year plan to lease.
I don't believe that is saying that we're not going to do any of those
Let me
things.
just
I
pass
think
I'll
it
get a
is.
copy
I
for
think it
everybody.
is.
Maybe I'm reading it wrong.
Is
We'll get copies for everybody.
I think it is saying that we're putting the plan out, but not saying
with
what's
the
in
intent
the
not to.
plan.
In all honesty, I'm sorry. We're going to have to agree to disagree. I'm not going to get into back and forth.
How many times have we seen this exact situation with this current White House? And when confronted with a quote that is on the record, they either completely deny saying what they said literally on record, or try to twist the meaning. Here's actually a perfect example from Jen Psaki just the other day.
A week ago, after the Roe v. Wade protests were happening in front of the Supreme Court justices' houses, you said, and I quote, we certainly can continue to encourage that people protest outside of judges' homes.
I
Now,
never said that.
I'm quoting from...
I said peacefully.
Yeah, sure, peacefully.
That's a key word in there, isn't it?
Peacefully, regardless, they're protesting because they're trying to impact the results. It's a federal crime to protest outside of justices' homes to impact the results. So my question is, do you regret encouraging people to protest outside of justices' homes? Even if it is peaceful, it still is a federal crime.
Well, first, thank you for your question and bringing it forward. Let me first say, because I think facts matter and facts are important, I never encouraged anyone to protest. I encouraged them to engage peacefully and to do it without violence, without threats, and without intimidation. And that's something I said many, many times and I think is vitally important.
Well, apparently to Jen Psaki, because the facts matter, she didn't encourage anyone to protest, she encouraged them to engage peacefully. As if that's not literally the exact same thing. I mean, this was her quote.
So I know that there's an outrage right now, I guess, about protests that have been peaceful to date, and we certainly continue to encourage that outside of judges' homes, and that's the president's position.
Which doesn't exactly line up with her justification.
I never encouraged anyone to protest. I encouraged them to engage peacefully and to do it without violence, without threats, and without intimidation.
She didn't call for violence or for anyone to intimidate, as if an angry leftist mob showing up outside of your house isn't intimidation, which is literally a federal crime, to picket or protest outside of a judge's home because you don't like that judge's decision, trying to intimidate them to change their decision. She didn't encourage to protest, folks. She encouraged people to engage peacefully outside of justices' homes. You see what I mean, how dishonest these people are? They are absolute snakes. Joe Manchin has a statement that was made by the department that Mrs. Holland works at and leads. And the statement essentially reads that the Biden administration has no plans to hand out oil drilling leases. And her response is, well, what you read doesn't actually mean what it literally states, giving vague answers and trying to run away with it. Like I keep saying, folks, I have never seen such an utterly dishonest administration. Everything is just so messy and hazy, and what I mean by that are the facts and the messaging. I mean, there's countless clips, but at one point Joe Biden saying this.
We're not going to ban fracking.
Then the next week he's saying this.
I can guarantee you, if I'm president, there will be no offshore drilling.
He says he's going to do one thing, then he does another, then his administration lies about it, and it's so hard to find the truth. And especially with all the media BS surrounding it all. Joe Biden's most recent defense is that he's not trying to cancel any oil leases, even though they just canceled some in Alaska and the Gulf of Mexico. And Joe Biden also claims that oil and gas drilling permits are still being given or being released, and the mainstream media is coming to his defense. Biden is approving more drilling permits on public lands than Donald Trump analysis shows. Biden has a higher per month average of approved onshore oil and gas drilling permits than Trump did in any of the first 3 years of his presidency. And see, that's where they get you. Take a look at just how dishonest this is. Here's the average monthly approval of gas drilling permits throughout Donald Trump's first 4 years. And as you can see, it continued to ramp up throughout his presidency. And in 2020, it ramped up to the highest in a really long time at 452 approved permits per month throughout 2020. So actually, this title is completely dishonest. Biden is approving more oil and gas drilling permits on public lands than Trump. No, he's not. He literally slashed a good portion of them from 2020 to 2021. I mean, what an absolute lie. And it gets even worse when you actually read into the details. During Biden's first year in office so far, BLM, which is the Bureau of Land Management, has approved an average of 333 drilling permits per month. That figure is more than 35% higher than Trump's first year in office, when BLM approved an average of 245 per month. So they're comparing comparing his first year to Donald Trump's first year when he just got in office and started to ramp up the process. A process that should have continued going upward, but Joe Biden actually took down. That number is also higher than the monthly average in 2018 and 2019, but lower than the monthly average in 2020, 452 permits, when oil companies stockpiled permits in the final months of the Trump administration. So essentially, during Donald Trump's last year, oil companies stockpiled a bunch of permit applications. And so Joe Biden's 333 monthly approvals are actually applications from the Donald Trump years. It's Donald Trump's policy that's bleeding over into Biden's. And this is what we've seen throughout. Joe Biden is trying to stop drilling and then taking credit for the remnants of the Trump administration's ramping up oil production, domestic oil production, playing both sides of the issue. But once again, the credit goes to Trump. And here's more proof. Biden administration plans to resume plans for federal oil and gas development. You read the headline, and immediately the dishonest media, dishonest Reuters, makes you think that the Biden administration is doing the right thing in resuming plans for domestic oil production to reduce reliance on OPEC. And of course, Russian, Iranian, and Venezuelan gas. But then you start reading. The Biden administration on Friday said it would resume plans for oil and gas development on federal lands, following a court ruling this week that temporarily restored a measure meant to factor the cost of global warming into federal decision-making. The development is the latest in a string of stops and starts to the federal oil and gas leasing program since Joe Biden took office in January 2021. Biden pledged during his presidential campaign to halt federal drilling auctions, but that effort has been stymied by a court challenge from Republican-led states. The Biden administration isn't planning to just resume federal oil and gas development because there's a gas crisis going on and Americans want domestic production. They're doing it because they're being forced to by the courts, and they're being forced to resume approvals of license applications from the Trump years. Do you see how dishonest this whole machine is, this Democrat media machine? I really hope I'm explaining this correctly, but the clear reality here is that you're being lied to, and this administration is utterly incompetent. This administration feigns virtue. They want to genuflect to the activist liberal mob at the expense of the American consumer. Joe Biden says that high gas prices are because of Russia and OPEC nations refusing to pump more oil.
If you take a look at, gas prices, and you take a look at oil prices, that is a consequence of, thus far, the refusal of Russia or the OPEC nations to pump more oil. And we'll see what happens on that score sooner than later.
Joe Biden wants to stop pumping oil domestically, generating cash flow for American enterprises and creating jobs and tax revenue domestically because pumping oil bad, while simultaneously calling on Russia and OPEC to pump more oil. And of course, the response from back then, OPEC says to Biden, if you want more oil, pump it yourself, because of course they have no incentive to pump more oil. They make more money when there's less supply, prices go up. And of course, now Biden is to import Venezuelan oil to meet US demand. President Trump's energy independence policies will continue to be ignored. Joe Biden is the worst president in modern American history, and he is also simultaneously Employee of the Month, Employee of the Year to the South American drug cartels, South American oil barons, and Employee of the Year to the OPEC oil cartel, all at the expense of the American consumer and American taxpayer. I mean, this level of hypocrisy is truly next level, and they continue to lie to you. Joe Biden continues to play both sides while continuing to tell you, just buy an electric car.
But batteries that we made at this new facility in Georgia are going to power cars without one drop of gasoline and increase security of our battery supply chains as well. That's going to save families money at the pump because they can skip the pump altogether.
Absolutely despicable. That's what I got for you guys, though. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share it as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. I'm going to get back to work. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.